Imagine walking down a busy street when someone suddenly bumps into you, nearly knocking you over. Before they can even look up, the word escapes your lips almost reflexively. I'm sorry. It's a strange, automatic response, isn't it? You didn't do anything wrong, yet you feel an immediate urge to apologize for simply occupying space. Why does your brain treat your own presence as a mistake that needs pardoning? Is this just politeness, or is something deeper, perhaps something darker, happening beneath the surface of your consciousness? You might believe you're just being a good person, but what if this habit is actually a silent scream for safety? But here is the most unsettling part. While you're busy apologizing to the world, you might be inviting the very people who will take everything you have. Today, we're going to peel back the layers of this angelic behavior to find the hidden machinery of survival. Let's explore why you say sorry for being alive. Society has conditioned us to believe that apologizing frequently is a hallmark of a deeply empathetic person. We praise those who constantly take the blame, labeling them as gentle peacemakers or selfless individuals. But what if this widespread assumption is dangerously incomplete? In psychology, chronic over-apologizing is rarely about politeness. It is often an involuntary defense mechanism rooted in a profound fear of conflict. When you apologize for things entirely outside your control, you are not being courteous. You are desperately trying to manage another person's potential anger to keep yourself safe. Research led by Dr. Karina Schumann at the University of Waterloo in 2010 revealed how some individuals possess a hypersensitive offense threshold, constantly perceiving themselves at fault. Building on this, psychotherapist Pete Walker's 2013 work on complex trauma identifies this behavior as the fawning response, a subconscious survival strategy used to appease threats and avoid abandonment. It is not an act of grace. It is an invisible shield. But how can you tell if your apologies are genuine manners or a trauma-driven reflex? The answer is hidden in plain sight. Let's break down the 3 undeniable signs that your "I'm sorry" is actually a quiet plea for survival. Characteristic 1. The apology as an invisible shield. Have you ever started a sentence with, "I'm sorry, but I think," or "sorry to bother you, but could you pass the salt?" This brings us to the first defining trait of the chronic over-apologizer, using the word sorry as an invisible shield before performing perfectly normal, everyday actions. You deploy these preemptive apologies to soften your presence, mistakenly believing it makes you appear polite, agreeable, and accommodating. However, the psychological paradox here is profound. While you intend to avoid offending anyone, you are subconsciously signaling to the room that your voice, your boundaries, and your needs hold no inherent value. It is much like wearing a suit of armor made entirely of paper. You think it protects you from judgment and criticism, but in reality, it only broadcasts your deep-seated vulnerability to those observing you. Psychologically speaking, this behavior acts as a conversational buffer against anticipated rejection, an attempt to shrink your ego before anyone else gets the chance to do it for you. Do you find yourself using apologies just to ask for permission to speak or exist in a space? It is an exhausting way to communicate, but what happens when you start apologizing for things that have absolutely nothing to do with you? That leads us to an even heavier burden. Characteristic 2. Carrying the weight of the world's emotions. The second trait of chronic over-apologizers is turning themselves into the emotional caretakers of the world. Do you ever find yourself saying, "I'm sorry it's raining and ruined our trip," even though you have absolutely no control over the weather? You automatically take responsibility for other people's frustrations, absorbing everything from a traffic jam to their bad day at work. You mistake this for the absolute pinnacle of compassion, but psychologically speaking, it is actually a textbook manifestation of hypervigilance. Your brain operates like a threat detection radar that never powers down, constantly scanning your environment for the slightest signs of displeasure. By rushing to take the blame, your subconscious is desperately attempting to create an illusion of control to soothe an anger that might not even exist yet. This hyper-tuned ability to read and carry others' emotions might sound like a wonderful gift of kindness, doesn't it? But what you don't know is the devastating exhaustion it causes, leading us directly to a final manifestation where all personal boundaries completely collapse. Characteristic 3. The apologizing for existing syndrome. This brings us to the most heartbreaking trait of all, the apologizing for existing syndrome. If you suffer from this, you are constantly shrinking both your physical and psychological space. You apologize when you cry, you apologize when you need help, and you apologize simply for expressing a normal human emotion. Instead of truly living, you tiptoe through your own life, desperately trying not to inconvenience anyone. It feels as though you are constantly trespassing in a world that belongs to everyone else. But have you ever stopped to wonder when exactly taking up space became a mistake that requires constant pardoning? This extreme manifestation is not a mere personality quirk. It is a profound erasure of the self. While society might view you as incredibly low maintenance and easygoing, psychology sees a person who has internalized the tragic belief that their fundamental needs are a burden to others. To truly understand why you have spent years apologizing just for breathing, we must go back to where it all began. And the answer to that lies in the hidden wiring of your past. The root of chronic over-apologizing is rarely found in your present circumstances. It is almost always buried deep in the soil of your childhood. Most chronic fawners grew up in environments where a caregiver's love was conditional or their temper was unpredictable. In these households, an apology was never just a social grace. It was a vital survival tactic. As a child, you instinctively learned that by preemptively taking the blame, you could defuse the emotional bomb of an adult's anger before it had a chance to explode. This is what psychotherapist Pete Walker, in his 2013 landmark work on complex trauma, defines as the fawn response, the fourth and often overlooked stress response alongside fight, flight, and freeze. From a neurological perspective, your amygdala, the brain's primary alarm system, has become hypersensitized through years of conditioning. It perceives someone else's minor frown or a slight change in their tone of voice, not as a passing mood, but as a direct, existential threat to your safety. But this is where it gets even more complex. Your brain isn't actually being polite. It is trying to save your life by sacrificing your dignity. You have been biologically programmed to believe that your personal safety is inextricably tied to the comfort of everyone else in the room. This appeasement strategy served you well when you were a defenseless child, but as an adult, it keeps you trapped in a constant cycle of self-betrayal. However, while understanding the why is the essential first step toward healing, we must be careful not to mistake this survival strategy for a virtue or a superpower. There is a hidden, dangerous side to this behavior that we cannot afford to ignore. Before we conclude, it is crucial to pause and look at this behavior through a multidimensional lens. First, we must stop romanticizing chronic over-apologizing as a superpower of extreme empathy. When left unchecked, sacrificing your boundaries turns you into a magnet for manipulative individuals and narcissists who thrive on your relentless self-blame. However, we must also acknowledge cultural nuances. In certain societies or corporate environments, the word sorry is merely a polite conversational filler, not necessarily a symptom of deep-seated trauma. Please remember that this analysis is for self-reflection and educational purposes only, and it does not replace professional psychological counseling. If this constant need to appease others is severely impacting your mental health, seeking therapy is a vital step. So where do we go from here? And how can we start reclaiming our rightful space in the world?
Let's bring everything together.
To summarize, your chronic habit of saying, "I'm sorry," is not a badge of extreme kindness. It is an invisible shield forged from childhood trauma, a hypervigilant attempt to carry the world's emotional weight, and a heartbreaking way to shrink your own existence. You learned to apologize to survive, but survival alone is no longer enough. You do not owe the world an apology for simply taking up space, having needs, or expressing your truth. It is time to replace the mindset of "I am sorry for being here" with "Thank you for making space for me." Your voice matters, and your presence is a gift, not a burden. Did you see a reflection of yourself in this psychological mirror? Let us know in the comments below which part resonated with you the most. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more deep psychological storytelling.